Welcome to the Undrafted Armchair Quarterbacks. We're Jim and Joe, lifelong friends, lifelong fans, bringing you fan-driven sports talk the way real fans do. No overpaid experts, no scripted analysis, just honest takes on the games, players, and the big stories shaping sports right now.
We want you to be a part of it too, folks. Drop your comments, questions, and your takes. We love it. We love the comments. We'll read them all. We do feature them. Please subscribe or hit like to any of our conversations. Join us every week for free right here on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok and X. And you're a traveling man with a plaque behind you that looks like it's got wine.
Well, I am
Makes me
on the road, and as in previous episodes, the show must go on because sports doesn't stop
yes,
for anyone,
right.
for anything. So I'm actually down here in beautiful Pensacola, Florida. I'm staying with my sister, hey Toby, and appreciate her letting me use her studio. This is a nice backdrop for any comments that are on the complaining side of things. I'm going to call them whiners. That's what there's for. Even those are encouraged. So don't worry. We can take it.
Gotta love it. It's making me thirsty too.
Yeah, me too. You know what my favorite wine is? I'm out of beer. Yeah, so my favorite wine. Yes. Speaking of whining and dining and dinging, let's talk about some baseball because we're trying to shift that, as you can tell, towards the beginning of our show because we are getting into mid-August, quickly heading into September. The races are getting tighter. The games are getting more meaningful. And there are some crazy things going on. And we can start with another MLB record. You'd think with 100 years of records, you'd be out of possibilities of making more records, but it continues to happen.
And it happened with the St. Louis Cardinals. Joshua Baez goes into Wrigley Field for his major league debut on Saturday. What did he do, Joe?
I think he hit a home run.
And then on his very first pitch, which is amazing right there. What a feeling that must have been for him. Then he gets up second at bat. What did he do, Joe?
I think he hit a home run.
Yes, correct. Ding, ding, ding. You're doing very well.
Thank you.
And then he came up again for his third straight at bat, and
he struck out.
Negative.
What
Another home run.
What? Wait. Are you saying he had 3 home runs in his first 3 major league debut at bats?
Yes.
Wow. That is crazy. And that's obviously a major league record, I would think.
Yep. Pretty amazing.
Yeah. I mean, in all seriousness, he gets called up from AAA Memphis. By the way, he was leading the minor leagues in home runs. So it's not like this is, some crazy out of left field situation. I think he had 34 to date this year. So yeah, he comes up, but you're right. The first major league pitch, he's got 30 friends and family in the stands. And I don't know if you ever saw the movie The Rookie, but having your debut with your friends and family there, it's a big deal for everyone, obviously. And you cannot say he did not deliver, man. Unbelievable.
It doesn't get any better than that. And I did not know about the 30 of his, family and friends there. Can you imagine? That is just awesome. Baseball keeps delivering.
Baseball keeps delivering. And good for him, obviously. Now, just to show how hard it is to hit a Major League Baseball pitcher, kind of cooled off since then. So I think going like over 14 since those 3 Major League, you can't make it up, man. 3 home runs to start your career, over 14, next 14 at bats. Unbelievable.
Baseball delivers and it taketh away.
Yeah. You know what? It took it away, all right. It's pretty crazy, really. But hey, good for him. Has this ever been done? So this is a record. Has anybody ever hit 2 in their first 2 at bats?
Yes, and we can thank our unpaid research staff for this. In 1951, there was a gentleman for the St. Louis Browns, Bob Neiman. We all know Bob Neiman.
Yeah.
He homered in his first 2 at-bats.
Nice.
But here's the interesting part. Only one other player homered in the first 2 at-bats, but it was also a St. Louis player.
That's right.
All 3 of these players in this conversation So you can win some money at your next sit down at the bar, bring up a trivia question like that. No one will get it. Keith McDonald of the Cardinals.
Yeah.
And what's
So
cool
you got
about
this.
Keith McDonald, what's cool about Keith McDonald is he homered in his first major league at bat as a pinch hitter. And then the following game came in as a pinch hitter, second at bat, and homered again. So
Wow.
he's on the list too, which is pretty cool. Love baseball, man.
Baseball, great. I mean, we always talk about it. It just keeps delivering. It's incredible. Another fact about Baez is interesting. So he will not be able, because he was called up mid-August, he will not be eligible to not be a rookie this year. So in other words, if he plays in every game for the remainder of this season, he will still maintain his rookie status. So in other words, he could be rookie of the year next year, even though he's been playing or will have played in 40-something games. I don't know what the actual cutoff is. All I know is he won't make it. So kind of an interesting little sidebar there.
Yeah, I do like that. And a couple of weeks now, the rosters aren't changing to 40-man rosters. I looked that up. It's still going to remain 28, but there's in a couple of weeks, if players are not listed on a 40-man roster, they won't be eligible for the playoffs. So it's just a list now. It's not like they got to, all 40 players are going to be up with the bigs, that kind of thing. I found that pretty interesting. First time this year that they changed that.
Yeah, that's pretty. I mean, that matters. I mean, for those teams that are trying to, close out and get into the playoffs, especially for pitchers that are called up late, that could be really tough.
Yep. Well, this past weekend in baseball delivered too. Well, not for my Dodgers, but man, I'm very impressed again with the Milwaukee Brewers. They took 3 of 4 in Los Angeles.
Yeah, they look good.
Got to see Misiorowski on Saturday.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that guy can forget it, man. He's
worth the price of admission, just him alone. And especially if I was listening to somebody talking about how they were, in the stands, but they were field level, like they were on the field. And this guy's been going to games for 40 years. And he said, he's just never heard that sound. Not to reference The Rookie again, but that movie was a good movie, by the way. And if you remember that one scene where, with the radar gun, he threw it, and it turned out that the radar gun, he thought he threw 78, but the 9 and the 7 were kind of not working properly. So anyways, when he went to camp, he threw that first pitch to the catcher, and the noise the glove made, people just like turned around and were like, whoa, what was that? Like, it just sounds different. And that's the same thing with this guy was saying. It just sounds different when it hits the catcher's mitt.
It's like Nolan Ryan. It's shades of Nolan Ryan. I think he was part of a story where batter asked, "What was that?" And the umpire said, "It sounded like a strike."
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly right. So, yeah. No, the Brewers. Obviously, if you follow baseball, you know how good they're doing. But if you're just a casual fan, you might not think of them very often because, well, it's Milwaukee, right?
Yep. And then the other team that really came to mind right off the bat was, and we talked about them last week too, Tigers getting swept by the White Sox. Man, which the White Sox, what a story once again. They're not going away.
No. And that American League Central's tight, 4 teams within 5.5 games. The West, of course, is very tight, top 3. So there's a lot of great races going on right now.
Yep. Phillies, Diamondbacks, and the Padres all fighting for that wild card. And there's still some teams right behind there. The Marlins, there's some Cardinals. They're not out of it. So
yeah,
I love it. I mean, 40 games to go.
Yeah, I think some of the divisions, the cream's rising to the top, but the wild card races will stay pretty close, as they usually do. But now, there's 6, I think now. So you got 6 from each league going. So I think it's going to be really tight to the end for the wild card, especially.
Yep. And while we're starting to wrap up the baseball talk, I do have to say rest in peace to Tommy John and to Skip Bertman, former University of Miami assistant head coach and LSU head coach. They both passed away over the weekend. But Tommy John, what a story, man. You know, everybody knows the name nowadays, but does everybody know that that man won 288 Major League Baseball games?
Well, and
Amazing.
most of those were after a surgery that the ulnar collateral ligament, before him, it was only done on hands, wrists. So he was the first one to get it on his elbow. And most people can recall the doctor's name, Dr.
Yep.
Frank Job.
Yep.
Should be called, I don't know, Frank Job surgery. Somehow the patient is the one who got to keep the name. Tommy John surgery instead of Frank Job surgery. But nonetheless, it's really crazy. I've actually read, I remember stories about this, but it was like 100-1 odds based on, at the time, how successful this surgery probably would be. And it was like a long shot to save his career. He's 31 years old, and he ended up pitching for another 14 years, taking a tendon from his own right forearm and putting it in his elbow. It's unbelievable, really, when you think about it. Talk about groundbreaking, you know?
It sure is. And I think what I took away, which I loved when I was reading about it, when Frank Job presented it to Tommy John simply looked at him and said, "I trust you."
Yeah, yeah.
That was great.
It was, and not to take anything away from that, he probably had nothing to lose. You know, it was a career-ending injury at the time.
Yeah,
So,
sure was.
but good for Frank. And listen, it kind of took away from Tommy John's, I don't want to say his success because he pitched for so long, but I mean, consecutive 21 seasons and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But he's more known for his surgical repair than he is probably his pitching, which is pretty funny.
In a way it is, but what's good about that is for all the pitchers from then to now, even during the Tommy John years, he was performing that, sir. He's been performing that since. Now I'm sure there's a lot of other doctors. I think Dr. James Andrews, Birmingham is another one.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of them that specialize in it now. But look at all the pitchers' careers it has saved. Thanks, Tommy.
Someone took the time, and I don't know how they did it, but they estimated how many athletes, especially pitchers, even football players, anybody throwing, have been, career saved by that surgery. And it's like, close to 3,000. It's almost like common. So pretty crazy. Yeah, it was great. It's a great story, man. Really.
I love it. I love it.
Me too. Well, let's move on. We got football. So football is weeks away. How long? I think the opening weekend, which is week 0, which we've talked about this, still blows my mind on why there's a week 0. But whatever. When does that start? Is that really a week away?
Yes, thank goodness. But if they decide to schedule a game this weekend, maybe because of weather next weekend projected or whatever, would that mean they're starting in week -1?
No.
Okay, sorry.
Wait. I mean negative.
But yeah, week 0, it's about as stupid as the Big Ten continuing to call themselves the Big Ten. There's 18 schools. Those are academic institutions. Get it right. I don't care about name brand or branding or rights or anything like that. Just call it the Big Conference. Even the logo kind of looks like that's where they're going to go with it. That's fine. Just call it the Big. I'm tired of hearing Big Ten.
Of all the things that I agree with you, that makes the least amount of sense in the world. And you know what? It hasn't been the Big Ten forever. It's not like this, was an overnight thing where people are scrambling to try to figure out what to do about it. They've had years and years and years to figure out what to call it other than that. Look at the SEC. Just don't put a number on it. The Big 12. Just don't put a number on it. Those days, that ship has sailed a long time ago.
Right. The AC.
Yeah. Just don't put a number on it. Well, you see it coming. Yep. It's like team names, New Orleans Jazz. Of course. Perfect. Let's move to Utah because Utah is known for its jazz as well, and keep the name, like you said, licensing and there's money involved and all that. So I understand. But let's talk more specifically about the news in college football right now, which is the top 25, the official AP top 25 came out. I'll be honest with you. If I look at it, I could throw the top 10 probably in a hat and pull them out in any particular order and have an argument for each team on why they would be number 1, 2, or 3. So I got no problem with it. I think Miami being ranked number 7, I'm fine with that. No problem. I mean, I think we're probably 3 or 4, quite frankly, but it's okay. No big deal.
I
Anything
wouldn't
catch your
mind.
eye?
I wouldn't mind that either. Yeah, what caught my eye is the obvious and the 1 and the 2 spot. They're both schools from the big conference,
Yeah, that's true.
Ohio State and Oregon. But did either one of those schools win the national championship last year? No.
No, but a Big Ten team did win, so their conference was well represented, and they are again this year. You're looking at, with Indiana sitting in there at number 6, at least here, and they're in the top 10 in almost every poll I've seen. The SEC, of course, is very well represented in the top 25. Off the top of my head, I don't remember if it's 10 or 11, maybe even 12, but they've got, almost half of the teams in the top 25 are SEC. Some interesting things I saw about each team, a little snippet. Ohio State will enter this season in their first game, they'll be favored. This will be 31 straight games that they will be favored. In the last 30 games, they've been favored. So obviously haven't won all those, but that's kind of crazy. And we'll see. I don't think anyone's on the hot seat per se with like Oregon, like Dan Lanning. But if you kind of go 1 and done or 2 and done in the playoffs again this year, assuming you make the playoffs, I think that seat gets not hot but a little warm there. Sarkisian, I think, is in the same boat. His roster's too good. He's top 5 again this year. He's too good to not make a better run, in my opinion, in the playoffs. So we'll see what happens.
We touched on that on our podcast. It might not have been the last one, but the one before it, where I've just finally said, you know what? Every head coach is on sort of a hot seat in college because the pressure is unbelievable to win.
Mm-hmm.
And, the only coach right now I think that may not really be on anywhere close to a hot seat for how they perform this year is Signetti. And there's a couple more. I think Mario, because that was an amazing run for the Hurricanes last year.
Yeah,
And he
100%.
just signed a new contract, right? Extension.
Yep.
But take away those, you better believe it. You hit the nail on the head with Sarkisian and Lanning.
Yeah.
And then we look at Shane Beamer at South Carolina.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
at
that's a good one.
the top of the list, Florida State, Mike Norvell.
Yeah, if you're talking about seats that are on fire, like you can literally see the flames, aside from the top 25 pressure of, being preseason top 10 and not making it, at least to the semis, that's pressure. But the other pressure of you're not even in the top 20, you're not even in the top 100 probably. People like Mike Norvell and all that. Yeah, they'll be 1 and done. Can you imagine going back to like Notre Dame? I actually stole this from JD Pickett on On3, who I love, JD Pickle, who I love watching. He said something, but can you imagine Notre Dame if they lose, and they'll be favored by only 1 or 2 points probably, but if they lose to Miami on November 7th, and then one of their last games, it might be their last game, is against SMU, and SMU's in the top 25, and I can see SMU giving them can you imagine Notre Dame like losing 2 games again, like they did last year, and then having like a controversial entrance or exit to the playoffs? I mean, anyways, I think he's a little bit on the hot seat as well, quite frankly.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. And you just made me think of the Seminoles didn't even get a single vote to get into the top 25 on the AP. I'm just okay, good. Then maybe this will be a year where they're hearing that they're not that good. No one thinks they're that good. We've all been through those type of preseasons with our teams. It's like good. We're not on the radar. We're not on anybody's chalkboard being circled as their top game. It's the FSU game on November 7th or whatever. Good. That's fine. That's what I hope for. But
yeah, I think a lot of teams like that. You'd rather be now that there's a 12-team playoff, it's so much better, because when it was only the BCS and top 4 or something, because you'd have to jump so many teams to get into that top 4. So, preseason ranking was huge because if you started out at number 14, you had a really heavy lift to get into that top 4. But now there's 12. I mean, yeah, I'd rather be an underdog, quite frankly. No problem at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind sitting at number 7 like Miami is. Not
Yeah.
at all. Not at all.
No problem. No problem at all. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. One more thing about football. I can't help but keep seeing things about the Bill Stadium. Just keep scrolling. Every day there's another story about the Bill Stadium. It's unbelievable. It's a $2.2 billion stadium. And why it keeps popping up is there are it's estimated that there's hundreds of seats that are obstructed either by a railing, a corner, a piece of glass, or you're right on the stairs where people come up and down through the tunnels there. Staircases cutting through, key sight lines. If you're on if you're not on the first 5 rows of the upper deck, you can't even see the sideline down below you. It's crazy. And then the new controversy is they just had their first game there. It's natural grass in Buffalo. Players always want to play on natural grass if given the option compared to artificial turf. And all the players are like saying, take the GR out of that word. There were chunks of it coming up, bad footing, undependable footing, and all the players are like ripping the field. So you got the stadium. Fans say the big jumbotron. They should be calling it just the Tron because it's so small. The sound is terrible. There's no bathrooms on the upper deck, so if you're way up on top, you got to go down like to the next level to use the bathroom. I mean, it's just one $2.2 billion things after another. It's kind of crazy.
That is crazy. I did not know all of that. I've seen a couple of
Yeah.
photos on social media about the
Yeah.
obstructed views, and I wondered if, that's somebody just getting their camera just right to make it look as bad as possible or whatever.
Yeah.
They had to figure out how to do the aerodynamics for snowdrift in the stadium or something like that. I don't know, but it's time
Maybe.
for them to call the World Cup grass people. They're the
Yeah.
experts. We know that.
They know how to do it, man. Those fields were immaculate looking for weeks at a time in stadiums that don't even have natural light or water. So yeah, they should contact them. Yeah, it's just it's not funny. If I was a Buffalo fan, no, a lot of fans are like, you're crazy. It's great. Well, obviously we're talking about a very small percentage of fans that have these issues, but still there should be no issues in a $2.2 billion stadium for any fan, especially at the cost of tickets, not just these days, but for teams like that are probably, passed down generational tickets for them.
I got one more comment about the Bills too. Their alternative uniform is horrendous. It's the
Yeah.
dumbest looking. The blue helmet with the red. All it was a stripe. That's an iconic logo, like the Bucks logo, the Raiders logo, the Dolphins, Cowboys. There's so many teams with just an iconic logo, and they put half of it, just the streak of the bill jumping or leaping or whatever it's supposed to pick. But I love that logo. That's the dumbest looking uniform helmet, especially that I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that's right up there with one of the, and we should have a segment like this on our podcast. Like, what were you thinking? What were you thinking? That should be like a segment. We'll add that to our show. The what were you thinking? What were you thinking segment? Because that would be like number one right there. That was ugly, man.
Yeah, I really don't ever want to look at it again. We've
Well,
got Buffalo out of the way, but I'll be happy to do that. That's interesting.
well, listen, you and I can read people pretty well. We can read the room, but maybe we just use that as a question to judge people on whether we would like them or not, or at least let them, be part of a decision we're going to make about any constructive criticism. Because we'd say, hey, do you like the Buffalo, those uniforms or not? And if they say yes, we know to kind of just move away, just move on because they can't be trusted.
And I even asked our subscriber, Dylan, the Buffalo man. Remember, we were talking about him during the Sabres run in the NHL for Stanley Cup. I asked him the other day when I saw him, and he was just like, that needs to go away.
Yeah, it was
all he
pretty
said.
I know. Well, more to come on football. We'll definitely be doing some, specific football shows as we get into week 0. But let's talk about something else, the Lakers sale.
Yeah.
We don't need to spend a gazillion, hours on this. It's pretty, quite frankly, it's just rich people fighting over rich things, but it is kind of interesting because you got two sides of the story.
Yeah, I read briefly, so you got to fill me in and our listeners too. Jeannie Buss is involved, and that's all I saw. So I was like, okay, so that means she's trying to take control or keep control. It's her siblings that want to sell.
Yeah, and poor Buss family, right? Poor Jerry. But yeah, you've got six, and I'm not saying six rich kids. They're, hey, like Succession, they're obviously part of the Buss empire, so they have a lot of money. But it's been a really crazy situation because the Buss family, the kids, they have 17.8% stake. So in this sale, which don't forget, Josh Kushner and Bob Iger bought it without that. They still have controlling interest because they don't need the 17.8 to have control of the team. However, the siblings say, "Yeah, we want to sell ours. Why not? Let's get the money." Who wouldn't want 17.8% of $12.5 billion? Well, not so fast, because Jeannie, who is also acting, she's called the controlling owner of. She's like the governor, okay, of the team. With her saying, there's six kids, she says, "No, I'm not selling." Well, fine print says, well, we don't need all six to say it. We just need 4 of 6 to say it, and it's a done deal. Well, her lawyer said, no, and here it is right here. It's in black and white. You need 3. You have to have Jeannie, Janie, and Joey. By the way, they're all J names. You have to have those 3 approve it, and if they approve it, then it's a done deal. But I don't know whether she goes along with it or not. If she even keeps that 17.8 was divided equally among those kids. Well, my math tells me if you divide 17.8 by 6, it's roughly 3%. So even if she keeps her 3% and doesn't want to sell it, she loses her controlling portion, so she would no longer be governor. So it's a mess, man. It's stupid.
It sounds like rich people problems.
It is rich people problems. And to give you some perspective, under the radar and all this, the San Diego Padres just got sold for $3.9 billion, the highest valuation of any major league team ever, obviously, because there hasn't been one sold for a while. Well, guess what? That all happened with some great handshakes and some joy, and the family selling it, loves the new owners taking over and all that. The Lakers could probably learn a lesson from, a team just a couple hours down the road.
Yeah. And maybe the new owners will get rid of those popsicle looking uniforms the Padres wear. Those are back. We'll do that on our What Were You Thinking about uniforms for the Padres popsicle uniforms.
For next time. And by the way, if you care to go back and look at the record since Jerry Buss has, passed away, and look at the LA record since that, it's pretty bad. So it's probably best the Lakers do get sold. And then
good point.
Finally, I just want to talk about golf real quick. 2 things. There was the first cut for the, FedEx Cup points, and there are some pretty big names that missed the cut. I mean, you got Jordan Spieth missed the cut, Max Homa, Shane Lowry, Brian Harmon, Harris English, Keith Mitchell. Keith Mitchell was 49th going in, 51st on the way out, so he got bounced. Jordan Spieth, that's 2 years in a row he's missed the top 50. Aside from the chance to win the cup and all that, the bigger issue is none of those guys automatically qualify next year for the 8 big signature event tournaments, the $20 million signature events. They're not automatically qualified for those. So losing, not making the cut, obviously, but not getting the top 50 has some big implications for them.
Yeah, they're going to have to earn it. So
they're going to have to earn it the old way. The old way. They have to play in.
Way. Yeah. And the only thing I really wanted to say is, wow, what a performance by Scotty Scheffler. You called it, Joseph.
Dominant. He's dominant when he's dominant. That's for sure, man. And it's, we'll see. Once again, I'm thrilled that after next week, once they get into East Lake, there's no seeding, there's no, head starts. It's all even. I think that'll be great it's a very exciting weekend. Just 30 players too, no cuts, 4 rounds. I like it.
Great. Yep.
And lastly, before we go, can the WNBA do anything more to screw up the entire organization, league, fill in the blank? Can they do more than what they're doing? Can you go up to two girls wearing, double X shirts and tell them they have to either cover them up or leave, and giving them shirts to, here, wear these. They didn't have shirts, so they were given shirts to wear to cover them up. They were $1,000 seats. I think that's just disgusting. And it was in Atlanta. The Atlanta Dream said it wasn't us. The WNBA, who apparently it was their security, not the Dream security, but WNBA security, were the culprits, if you believe that what they did was wrong, which I do. So they're both saying, no, it wasn't us. It wasn't us. So, there you go. And then during the national anthem at home, the Atlanta Dream, there's the Fever standing over there. By the way, Sophie having her hand on her heart was a little controversial. Okay. But guess what? There was no Atlanta Dream. Not on the floor during the national anthem. The other team was. No matter what your politics, that's just basic USA, Americana stuff, right? You just, with everything you got going on, just be a little extra careful. Just be a little bit, read the room. Just be a little bit more aware of, what's going on. Terrible.
Self-centered agenda pushers. I'm sorry, did that come out of my mouth?
Yeah, I don't know what the acronym is on that, but yeah, it sounds good. But no, we'll see, man. We'll see what they can't do next. What can they do next to just alienate more people, or just look? It's not even alienating people at this point. It's they look like a bunch of unorganized, just ignorant people running the show. It's whatever. It's terrible.
Can't wait to get my popcorn. You got me all fired up to wait for the next round of stupidity from the league brass.
Well,
Yes.
You know what? Speaking of waiting on next, it'll be the next episode, because that's it for this episode of the Undrafted Armchair Quarterbacks with Jim and Joe. Thanks for checking us out and hanging with us for some real fan-driven sports talk.
Thank you for joining us once again, everybody. Look forward to seeing those comments coming. Please subscribe, hit like, and join us every week right here for free on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, and X. And we'll see you later on in the week. Have fun in Pensacola, Joe.
Take care, my friend. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon, man.